TV, that's why Trump won. That's why Trump won. That's why Trump won.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely true.
But you're now someone who's interested in a subject that has been near and dear to me since I deployed to the Balkans in 1998-99, and that is the very unreported dynamic that's going on where terrorist training camps, terrorist cells, and literally terrorist families have been sitting there unmolested for 15 years, and no one seems to care or be doing anything about it.
Well, as we know, the World War I started in the Balkans, and we've had other major wars that have started in Europe, and Europe is beginning, as you see with the Brexit, and you're seeing with some of the other countries there, it's beginning to fragment again. It's beginning to be nationalism is beginning to rise. All sorts of things are beginning to happen that the press is covering. And they are covering the Muslim immigration coming into Western Europe and the problems. What they're not covering is sort of the heart of Muslim Europe, if you will. If you take Turkey as sort of on the edge of Europe, which is Bosnia Herzegovina and the Balkans, and what is going on there that brought us into a war in the 1990s, which thanks for your service that you served in, but you're starting to see Turkey and Iran and some of these other countries fomenting and building a much more radical presence right in the heart of the Balkans, and there really hasn't been a whole lot of attention paid to that. You're seeing refugees coming in now and settling in that area who are clearly not pro-Western and have designs to start trouble in that region again. And as we know, that region can become a tinderbox very, very quickly. The president of Croatia came and visited the Congress. Actually, I took her and met a couple of senators, Senator Johnson from Wisconsin, Senator Rubio from Florida, and to talk with them. And they're both on the Foreign Relations Committee, and try to help sort of wave the flag here, red flag a little bit, saying, look, we got to pay attention to this area of the world. This is historically a very dangerous and potentially incendiary area of Europe. And if we don't pay attention to what's going on in Bosnia and potentially in Croatia and other places, we may be in deep soup again.
And one thing, if anyone knows anything about European history, you know that if the Europeans ignore a problem till it explodes in their face, it's not a soft landing, and it usually draws us in one way or another.
Look, the bottom line is, you talk about the acculturated and sophisticated Europeans. It wasn't too long ago they were chopping people's heads up and putting them on pikes, and the idea that can't happen again. Look, this has been centuries old in Europe for the brutality, the ethnic divisions, the nationalistic divisions, and the idea that the European Union in a matter of a few decades has sort of wiped that all out, I think is naive, and we're seeing some again rising of nationalistic trends. In the case of France, National Socialism. These are not good things in many respects. So we have to keep our eye on it and at least be made aware. And that's why I was so appreciative of the president of Croatia coming over and doing that briefing for some members of Congress. Well,
for me, the two good signs on the horizon is that the Secretary of Defense is a former SACEUR. Mattis is the former head of NATO. He knows from time physically on the ground, interacting and interoperating in the NATO environment, which is a skill, believe me. So that's a great sign. The other thing, so the incoming president's wife is from Slovenia. She's from the Balkans, and so that's a unique advantage. And hopefully she's in touch with what's happening there. I assume she is.
Look, obviously you can tell from her accent. I mean, she's from there. She knows the area well. I'm sure, and she has a lot of her relatives there. And I'm hopeful. Actually hopeful that President-elect and soon to be President Trump will turn his attention to this area that is in, sort of the crossroads, one of the crossroads of history there. I'm very concerned about the Turks and their growing influence in the region and their increasing Islamicization under Erdogan. And he is not a friendly actor to the United States. I mean, he's a quote NATO ally, but he is doing things within his country and within the region that are not in the best interest of NATO and not in the best interest of the United States. And one of those areas is Bosnia-Herzegovina.
All right. Well, let's stay in touch because I think we have a lot of common interests in this, and I think I'm going to be traveling back there in the next couple of months to remake some connections. Well, and so if we can be on the same flight.
Yeah, well, I look forward to getting your report from the ground. That would be interesting. Thank you.
All right, I will. Thank you very much, Senator Rick Santorum. Thanks for joining us, and have a good rest of the week. We will be back with Nikki Schwab from the Daily Mail, and we're going to talk about the various balls, the lineup. You've been wondering, where can I see Tony Orlando? Well, we have the answer for that. There's a ball for that. If you've been missing Tony Orlando, not Don. Just they broke up, but just Tony Orlando. We have the answer to that on the Twitter machine, Dark Secret Place, at Dark Secret Place, and if you want to email me, it's darksecretplace@protonmail.com. So yeah, a lot of people are they're confusing Slovakia with Slovenia. Melania Trump is from Slovenia, and by the way, in the Balkans, she's like a 7. We'll be back right after this with Nikki Schwab, Brian. Oh, that's right, we do have 2 minutes. Let me expand on that then. I'm being disrespectful. No, it's the Balkan people. And this is something you hear me talking about this because I spent a year on the ground in Bosnia. And I wasn't going to get into it with Senator Santorum, but one, as I was talking about it last week, one of my translators, one of my Muslim translators from Bosnia, did not want to raise his family there anymore because there was so much pressure in the Muslim community to either participate in what is becoming this basically Saudi-funded radicalization of the young people, or become a European. And luckily, what's really interesting for a lot of Americans that are not exposed to the Muslim dynamic, in the Balkans, both value systems are there on the table. Here's Europe. Okay, the Bosnians, Croats, Serbs, they're Europeans. Okay. But for the Bosnian Muslims, the money came in from the Saudis to rebuild mosques and build schools and the whole thing. So they're in madrasas when they're 7 or 8 or 9 or older, and they're being told, no, there's only one path, and it's the hard path of Wahhabist Islam and the whole thing. But then they're getting out of school and they're going to discos. So they're being pulled by the European values, all that represents, which is individual freedom, individual free will and choice of what to do with your life, or the harsh reality of fundamentalist Islam, which is your story's been written by God. All you have to do here is earn your way into a better heaven. Don't worry, there's a great, great paradise on the way. And luckily, by the way, for Europe, most of the Bosnian young men, especially the young men, they're choosing Europe. They're saying, sorry, you want me to give this up? Look at my girlfriend. Are you serious? All right, we'll be back with Nikki Schwab right after this. Bryan Suits filling in for Meghan McCain at Dark Secret Place on the Twitter machine. Back right after this on America Now. Okay, welcome back. It is America Now. Bryan Suits filling in for Meghan McCain, and we'll talk inauguration and presser with Nikki Schwab from the Daily Mail in just a second. We're going to play a little bit of the president's press conference today. The big question was the first question. It was the commutation, or some say commuting, of Chelsea Manning's sentence, or as I say, Bradley, from 35 years down to 7. Basically, time served. He'll be out in May. It was the first question out of the queue, and here in cut 7, the president gives us his answer.
Chelsea Manning has served a tough prison sentence. So the notion that the average person who was thinking about disclosing vital classified information would think that it goes unpunished. I don't think would get that impression from the sentence that Chelsea Manning has served. It has been my view that given she went to trial, that due process was carried out, that she took responsibility for her crime, that the sentence that she received was very disproportionate relative to what other leakers had received, and that she had served a significant amount of time, that it made sense to commute and not pardon her sentence.
Okay, let's bring she and her on board. Nikki Schwab joins us, and your piece today is about that. Anyway, I put it under Ivanka. Yeah, your piece is about this this presser today. Is it me, or was he really emphasizing the she's and the hers?
Oh, I don't know about that. Though I do think that he was definitely trying to make sure he didn't screw it up, because then everybody would be sort of yelling and making that its own story.
That, you know what? Yeah, I hadn't thought of it. You know what? I think you're probably right on there.
I don't think he was just trying to sort of over say she and her, but that the trans community wouldn't be happy if the president of the United States messed it up in his last press conference. So, he treaded delicately. And I actually noticed, I think, actually, I shouldn't even say this. I don't know if this is necessarily correct, but I believe Kellyanne Conway messed up for a hot second this morning, and then fixed it. But
I have a rule of thumb, and it's that if the person has a penis larger than my thumb, then it's a dude. And if they undergo surgery to turn something bigger than my thumb into a vagina, then I'll call them Caitlin or Chelsea or whatever. And that, by the way, that's my personal identity, and I would ask you to respect that.
Oh, God.
By the way, I've got a really small thumb.
Oh, well.
So, pretty low bar for me to call you a dude.
That is a low bar in that case.
But like I say, most doctors would say that if you have a penis, you're probably a male.
Well, I mean, medically, yes, but I think in the trans community, you sort of make that call.
I know. I know. It's just that
I'm just trying to be politically correct, man. I mean, come on.
Oh. Well, but so I look at this. This was 90% political and 10% of the value of the words that he said about, there was enough of a sentence in the whole thing. I think this is pure politics.
Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely was. It was definitely him throwing sort of a bone to the political left, who had been sort of pressuring him to do either something on Manning or on Snowden. And Chelsea's case was probably sort of the better one, because obviously you can't even do anything with Snowden because he's hiding out in Russia. He never, went to trial for his misdeeds.
He hasn't even submitted paperwork. He hasn't even made a request to come back to the U.S.
Yeah. So I think that, when you're looking at the political left, and I think, Obama had been criticized on the fact that he wasn't necessarily good when it came to the whole idea of a whistleblower. But I also think that has often gotten conflated with President Obama's treatment of the press. I think people sort of try to lump them in to the same little bucket, and I don't know if necessarily that should be the case.
Yeah. And by the way, people, the press in general has given this president a pass on his war on leakers. And then he just conflated the term leaker with traitor. Bradley Manning, he stole top secret material. He took unauthorized, without authorization, he took top secret material, and it doesn't matter what he did with it. This is where I see Salon and I see Huffington Post, and they're missing the point that we in the military have to deal with, and it doesn't matter what you do with it. It doesn't matter if you put it in your garage like Petraeus did. You mishandled classified material. Period. Funny. You don't. The analogy I was making is, if you rob a bank for $20, you're still a bank robber.
Yeah, and I don't know if you would not necessarily consider her to be a whistleblower.
Not even.
You know, I mean, and I think that's whenever I think journalists sort of argue for the president to sort of help you out, they're usually talking about whistleblowers coming to the media, and then this whole idea of us being able to sort of protect our sources and not be sort of hauled into court.
Yeah, and that's